we've gone red. And we're live. Whoops.
Oh my god, I'm still here. Whoa.
That was like 2 weeks in a row. None of that happened. Okay, now we're live. If you watch, start now.
Right. Okay, now.
Okay. Fade Chris. Fade Charlie. We need a time machine.
It's okay.
And why'd you do the double O? What do they call
That was
that?
Fade Charlie and I. Double finger guns?
Somebody said that. Yeah, I hate the. Somebody was imitating some girl or something, and she was like that was her thing.
Yeah, it's like it bothers people, but I do it almost instinctively most of the time.
I love that noise.
Yeah.
The horse ride
noise
noise.
all the time.
Yeah. So my hair's totally in my eyes. Is it sexy or do I look like a pathetic old guy?
It's long.
It's long. Thanks. I'll take that.
Yeah.
I'll take that for sure. All right, man. It is June 3rd. Yay.
Yeah, it is.
My brother's favorite month. I'm Chris.
June. I'm Charlie.
And we are.
8-ballin'.
Yes.
That's right.
Um,
Shit, I forgot to put this cup on a coaster. God.
Yeah, my brother's theory is like once you're into July, you're like way into summer, and August is like you can't enjoy August because you're thinking like summer's over. And I was like, dude, man, that's like so pessimistic. He's like, June, you got the whole summer ahead of you. I don't know. I don't try not to have a favorite month, but I don't know.
Well,
like,
how old is he? Like 10 years old? He's like, oh my God, school's coming back. It's August. I have to go back to school in September. Like, he's a grown man. He can do whatever he wants, whenever he wants, pretty much. Just like.
yeah, but he lives in Chicago, and I think winter in Chicago is a little different. Michigan, people who are into winter sports, I think it's a little more, I don't know if it's more accessible, but Chicago's just fucking cold, and it doesn't have ski hills, within a 20-minute drive like Detroit does.
It has terrible wind. Yeah.
Yes. But for me, the upside of the end of summer is college football season, which goes into January, and I love it. So, I don't know. For me, January, February are a bit of a grind. And then I'm good. But we got this. We 8-ball all through January and February.
Damn straight.
Damn straight. Anyway, so it's the meteorological summer. I don't know if you knew this. Meteorologically, June, July, August are summer, September, October, November are fall, and so on and so forth.
You mean, was I aware of the summer solstice and the dates that are...
No, just meteorologically. Weather, in terms of weather observance. Meteorologists consider, in terms of temperature and seasonal activity, June, July, August are summer, not starting with the summer solstice.
Instead of June 21, it's just June 1.
Yeah.
Interesting. Why is that?
Because June, July, and August are the warmest months.
Okay. That's fair.
It's reasonable.
I would go more by, if I was a nerd and cared about this stuff, which I kind of do, I would go more by the astronomical designations.
If you were whom?
If I was the guy making the rules, I would say, nope, summer starts June 21 because that's, astronomically speaking, that's when we're in the quarter, whatever,
But they're not astronomers, they're meteorologists.
They're dumbasses. I know. That's my point. They're fucking idiots. They don't know.
Well, they would say officially, it doesn't start.
Yeah, and they'd also say that it's not going to rain next week. But
oh my.
so I'm kind of more You know, you can like probably, if you wanted to, look up the patterns of astronomical phenomena for like, at least as it pertains to Earth, probably for like the next 1,000 years. Probably more than that if you wanted to on Google. You could just Google it and find it.
For the next 1,000 years?
Yeah.
What is it supposed to be?
No, I'm saying like, oh my God, there's in 984 years, there's going to be a solar eclipse from now.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yes.
And like, that's, to me, that proves that they figured out, at least they know what they're doing. But meteorologists are like throwing darts. They're like doing this. You know, like throwing darts at a dartboard blindfolded. They're just like, whatever.
You've just chosen to pick on the poor people.
What?
I'm just pointing out a fact,
what really
man.
did they give us?
I'm not taking a side, man. I just thought I'd point out some stupid anecdotal thing. And now I feel compelled
take
to
umbrage with that exists. That they even had to, for whatever reason, that is a fact that exists. Actually, did you know that meteorologically speaking, that June, July, and August are summertime and doesn't start June 21st? And I'd be like,
okay,
fuck
didn't say it like that. Okay.
No, I'm saying that some meteorologist was
Gosh.
like, you know what? Summer actually starts 20 days earlier. Like, no, you're wrong. I don't respect you.
Well, I guess it's you're, but you even said astronomically speaking, right? Modifiers. They're just modifiers.
Well,
we're getting
the
into
point
the
is,
weeds,
it
man.
should-
We're getting into the weeds.
I thought that's what this show was. What do you? Let me have this one.
All right.
Keep
Keep going.
The point is, it shouldn't need a modifier, and it should just be summer starts June 21st. That's the end of my piece.
Well, that actually is kind of hard to argue with.
There you go.
If you're just saying that, because it's not incorrect at all.
Thank you. I agree.
You know what's goofy is Easter.
Meteorology.
Easter is on the first Sunday on or after the first full moon after the vernal equinox. Really? Why don't you just pick the fucking date?
Well, that's what I'm like. At least Christmas, which historians will say, Jesus wasn't actually born on Christmas. That was just a nice pagan holiday time of year, and they were like, whatever, we'll pick this so that it's convenient for the pagans to celebrate
Is that a fact?
Christmas for us. Yeah, you didn't know that?
No, throw the pagans a bone? I did not know
Well,
that.
remember we talked about this, how they used the pagans. They were like, we're going to cut your head off or you can be Christian now.
I don't remember talking about that.
You and I, there was an episode where we went in depth on this. Charlemagne revolutionized. He changed the world by being combining the church with his armies, whatever, using the church to validate
I remember now.
So I think they were kind of making it easier on themselves and on the pagans because all these pagan holidays were at the end of the year, the winter festival or whatever the hell you have. And so they're like, all right, Christmas is in December. Cool. It's the end of the year. At least that's how I've heard it explained.
I like the way you said that. Christmas is in December.
Okay. So why don't they just do that with Easter? It's March 5 or something.
I
March
agree.
20. I don't know. Yeah.
They want it to fall on a Sunday, so it's the first Sunday after this, after this, after this. But
Easter Sunday.
I don't know. It seems like a way you figure out Groundhog Day.
Yeah, there was a day that Jesus, theoretically at least, hypothetically, it was a day of the month that Jesus rose. Why don't we just pick that day?
Right. And
Did they
we
forget?
and
And
we
they're like-
observe it on a Sunday.
Right. Right. Yeah. He's
And then
I forgot what the
then-
date was, but I remember that it was after the vernal equinox and it was a Sunday and it was. I remember the other three qualifiers, but they forgot the date.
Yeah, and the Orthodox Church, I think there's two Orthodox churches, the Greek Orthodox Church and then the Orthodox Church of, I don't know, something. It's what Ukrainians and Russians observe. It's later, and it's They don't want it to fall on. They want it to be after. Is it Passover? That's around that time
Yeah.
of year. So they don't want it to interfere with Passover. Like, really? So it's the first Sunday, on or after the first full moon, after the vernal equinox, but it also can't be before Passover.
Well, they call it in
And
Christianity
it's
that
the-
time. That
Well, I
time
was
of the
ju-
year, you still call it Passover, even though it's not like I'm celebrating Passover as a Jew. You still call it that. So it's like all this different shit. It's like clearly everyone is reading from the same playbook here. I don't know. Whatever. And they made everything up.
I like what you just said. Well, it's the time of the year. So
Yeah.
it's more like the dart thing, right? Where,
Yeah.
we'll make it, Marchish. Yeah.
Marchish. Yeah. Marchish. And it's March. Yeah. And it's about 3 months
Oh,
after
shit, we gotta pick a
he was
day.
born.
We got to pick a day
Yeah.
for the highest
No.
holiday of
Don't
our
pick a
religion.
day because then they can. Yeah. Don't pick a day because then they can prove us wrong on that. Just make it hard to figure it out every year. Anyway.
All right. And ironically, I don't know if there's irony here. There might be. Today's episode's name is Guns, Guns, Guns. Charlie and I were like, all
Coincidentally.
right, what I don't know if there's irony there. Technically, there's probably not. Well, there might be. Yeah, there is. Okay. So, we didn't know what we were going to talk about. And I said one time I want to talk about like gun culture in America and kind of the history of it. And you brought some stuff up, so read me what you got.
Oh, and it's relevant to my life too because there was just a
Reeds.
on the
Reeds
on the
gingerbread.
police report. Reed's gingerbread. On the police report, it's defined as the actual offense is a burglary. There was a burglary at my girlfriend's apartment, and that's ongoing. But first thing I did was like, boom, here's a shotgun. I'm keeping this in your house now.
A wise man in my
So-
life said, how do you know when to use burglary versus robbery? And he said, if I got burgled, doesn't sound right, then use robbery.
If I got burgled, doesn't sound right. Use robbery. It doesn't really help me figure out which one it was. Burglarized. That might be one of my favorite.
I got
words in English
robbed. I
language.
got burgled.
Yeah. I got robbed. I consider like robbed though. Could be like you were cheated of something too. I don't know.
Well, then robbery.
You were cheated out of something. I don't know. Whatever. Anyway, back to guns. 1791, first gun law. Well, after the Constitution, technically, we're not considering here anything under the Articles of Confederation. So, because that all got thrown out anyway. But 1791 was when they ratified the Bill of Rights. So cool.
Wait. I
What?
thought 1791 or 92 was when they ratified the Constitution.
They ratified the 10 amendments to the Constitution on December 15th, 1791.
Okay.
That's what this says. And it's time, so maybe they're wrong. But from then on, nothing happened until 1934, where they passed the NFA, which is the National Firearms Act of 1934 on June 26th. Oh, we're coming up on the whatever anniversary of that. In response to gangland crimes such as the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. FDR is doing. So they're trying to prevent gang violence, organized crime. And all that did was essentially impose a tax on manufacturing, selling, and transporting firearms that were specifically listed in the law, such as short-barrel shotguns, rifles, machine guns, firearm mufflers, and silencers.
When was that?
What?
What year was that?
1934.
That's a lot of stuff. Okay.
Yeah. And it's a $200 tax, which is like, that's a shitload of money back then.
Yeah, for
200
sure.
bucks. What is that? Like
Probably like $1,000 or
$1,000.
maybe more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was put in place to quote unquote curtail the transfer of these weapons. So I assume when you transfer ownership, you have to pay the tax. Okay, so and then 4 years later, in 1938, the FFA, which is the Federal Firearms Act of 1938, required gun manufacturers and importers and dealers to obtain a firearms license. It also defined a group of people, including convicted felons, who could not purchase guns and mandated that gun sellers keep customer records. The FFA was repealed in 1968 and replaced by the Gun Control Act. And the next year, there was a Supreme Court case, United States versus Miller, ruling that through the National Firearm Act of 1934, Congress could regulate the interstate selling of a short-barrel shotgun. Wow. And of course, they're going to rule that they want as much power as they can have.
That's interesting.
Oh my gosh, this is interesting. The court stated that, here's the ruling. The court stated that there was no evidence that a sawed-off shotgun has some reasonable relationship to the preservation or efficiency of a well-regulated militia, and thus we cannot say that the Second Amendment guarantees the right to keep and bear such an instrument. Like, why bother with guns at all then? Couldn't you just have, like, a spear and a sword? Like... bows and arrows.
That's a whole different conversation, right? You know, what's a gun?
Yeah.
Short barrel, long barrel, fucking tomahawk, missile, whatever.
Right.
Bazooka.
So I'm surprised that hasn't been used. Well, maybe it was. Maybe it has been used since, but that ruling is like has a reasonable relationship to the preservation or efficiency of a well-regulated militia. Like a short barrel shotgun exists for a reason. It's better close quarters. You know, that's the right tool to use in a situation. I don't understand how they can say that it's not. I don't understand.
What year was that?
Bullshit argument. 39.
You could make the argument that in a war, you're shooting rifles.
I suppose, yeah. They do, a lot of laws today at least, do make distinction based on the length of the barrel. Like a long gun is different from a handgun, you know. Like in Michigan, long guns don't require a permit to purchase. So you can just go to Dunham's and buy one today and leave with it that day. But you have to get what's called an LTP, or license to purchase. If you're going to buy anything shorter than, is it 18 inches?
16.
Inches?
16.
Yeah. But if you're going to buy anything that has a short barrel, you have to have a permit. Which doesn't really work the way that people think it works. You can technically buy the gun and then go and register it afterwards, which counts as your LTP as long as you're buying from a federally licensed firearms dealer. But anyway.
So those are all the dates?
So...
Oh, you got more?
What? No, there's a lot more, yeah. 1968. Following the assassination of President JFK, Attorney General and U.S. Senator Robert F. Kennedy and Dr. MLK Jr., President Lyndon B. Johnson pushed for the passage of the Gun Control Act of 1968. The GCA repealed and replaced the FFA, updated Title II of the NFA to fix constitutional issues, added language about destructive devices such as bombs, mines, and grenades, and expanded the definition of machine gun. It's interesting to me that nothing happened all throughout during World War II and then until Vietnam. And then they're like, shit, why are you laughing?
I'm just having a little conversation with myself in my head. Bombs, mines, and grenades. Was that the third one?
Yeah.
I want a bomb. I want to put a mine in my pool.
I would argue that you should be allowed to own cannonry.
If you really delve into the Second Amendment, one might argue that if the military can have it, civilians should be able to have it.
That's I agree.
The spirit of the Second Amendment and the mention of a militia is you want a militia to be able to defend itself against the tyranny of a government out of control.
Yeah. So it's like if we have Apache helicopters, but you guys can't own whatever the fuck, you know.
Right,
you
if I have an
can't
M16,
surface-to-air missiles.
right, if I have an M16 and I'm a problem, an Apache helicopter is going to take care of me without too many issues.
Pretty pretty nicely, right? Yeah.
And if
Pretty
there's a
smoothly,
bunch of us in a field with M16s, an F-16 or, you know, an Apache helicopter will not really have too much trouble dealing with us.
Oh wait, this is interesting. This is kind of on the same subject. So this bill, the 1968 GCA, it banned importing guns that have quote no sporting purpose. Imposed age restrictions for the purchase of handguns to 21, prohibited felons, the mentally ill, and others from purchasing guns, and required that all manufactured or imported guns have a serial number, and according to the ATF, imposed stricter licensing regulation on the firearms industry. So
that is
importing guns that have no sporting purpose.
super interesting.
Sorry, go ahead.
Because I did not know that. And the fact that, what does it say about mental health?
It restricts the purchase of handguns to prohibited felons, mentally ill, and others.
Oh, just handguns.
Others from
Mentally
purchasing
ill.
Guns. Yeah.
You would presume that they would want that enforced. Because I do agree
Fuck yeah.
that, you know, I mean, a lot of these mass shootings, maybe not in the last, like, frickin' 10 weeks, but there's a lot of mental illness with a lot of the mass shootings.
The guy
A whole lot.
And I don't know legally how much I can say about this, even though I'm not involved in the case specifically. I would argue that the guy that burgled, the guy that burgled my girlfriend's apartment was mentally ill and is now being held at a mental institution. So it's like, I don't want that guy owning a fucking gun, right? I would want that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
That
these
could be a
people-
slippery slope, but it's just interesting. All right, keep going. This is good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, that was 1968. And then about 20 years later, in 1986, the Firearm Owners Protection Act was passed by Congress. This law mainly enacted protections for gun owners. It prohibits the National Registry of Dealer Records, limiting ATF inspections to once per year, unless there are multiple infractions, softening what is defined as engaging in the business of selling firearms and allowing licensed dealers to sell firearms at gun shows in their state. It also loosened regulations on the sale and transfer of ammunition. The bill also codified some gun control measures, including expanding the GCA to prohibit civilian ownership or transfer of machine guns made after May 19, 1986, and redefined silencer to include parts intended to make silencers. Wow. That's interesting. So I wonder if I can today buy a gun. I guess we'll figure this out, but buy a machine gun that was made in 1985. You know?
Yeah,
Probably not.
probably not.
Because I'm pretty sure I'd hear about that. Yeah. Anyway, this is 1993. The Brady Handgun Violence Protection Act of 93 is named after the White House Press Secretary James Brady, who is permanently disabled from an injury suffered during an attempted assassination on President Ronald Reagan. Brady died in 2014, and it was signed into law by President Clinton. The law, which amends the GCA, requires that background checks be completed before a gun is purchased from a licensed dealer, manufacturer, or importer. It established the NICS, the National Instant Criminal Background Check System, which is maintained by the FBI. Interesting. Rough. And then in 1994, I never really knew what the Brady Bill did. Chris is muted. I always thought it had something to do with like caliber size, because the assassination attempt failed, even though his guy was only shot with a 22 caliber.
Right, and it was a revolver.
Yeah, I always thought it had something to do with like caliber restrictions, but it's just background checks.
Well, that guy was mentally ill, so
Yeah,
maybe they were trying to
makes
unearth
sense.
that. Anything else?
that makes sense. Yeah. In 1994,
John
the
Hinckley
Violent
Jr.
Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act. What?
John Hinckley Jr., right? Is that his name? Crazy man?
It doesn't say in here.
I think that's
Got
who it
three
is.
names.
Anyway,
Sounds like a killer.
1990, yeah, 1994.
This is the assault weapons ban. So it's signed by Clinton in 94. There's a subsection titled Public Safety and Recreational Firearms Use Protection Act. Temporary prohibition in effect from September 94 to September 04. They've since tried to renew it, but they've failed. And the provisions of the bill outlawed the ability to manufacture, transfer, or possess a semi-automatic assault weapon unless it was lawfully possessed under federal law on the date of the enactment of the subsection. 19
So wait,
military style.
was it grandfathered?
No, it has never been renewed.
But that sounded like language that made it grandfathered. No.
The provisions of the bill outlawed the ability to, quote, manufacture, transfer, or possess a semi-automatic assault weapon, end quote, unless it was, quote, lawfully possessed under federal law on the date of the enactment of this subsection.
So it's kind of grandfathered.
I
guess you can't make something
grandfathered in, but if you owned a gun the day that the bill was passed, you're fine.
Right.
But you just couldn't buy any new ones. And then the law expired anyway in September of 2004.
Huh.
Okay, so 19 military style or copycat assault weapons, including AR-15s, Tech-9s, MAC-10s, etc., could not be manufactured or sold. It also banned certain high-capacity ammunition magazines of more than 10 rounds, according to the U.S. Department of Justice fact sheet. I have 30-round magazines. I have an AR-15.
Yeah, that's weird because that's a federal law. Because it varies by state.
It expired in 04.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a federal law. Yeah.
Huh.
Assault weapon ban, they called it. 2003, the TR Amendment prohibits the ATF from publicly releasing data showing where criminals purchase their firearms. So that's protections for users. Sorry, I'm just skimming here.
They left out a really
05,
important one.
Which one?
It's a fact, and it's not a law, actually. 1835, Samuel L. Colt invents the revolver.
Making all men equal in the eyes of God. Yeah, it's an important one.
I think that adage is Smith & Wesson, right? God created men. Smith and Wesson made them equal.
I
But
thought Samuel Colt made him equal.
Was it? Could be. But
I
the
thought
revolver, the invention of the Wild Wild West gunfighter.
Chris has an original. I don't know what year it is, but a 45 Colt.
Turn of the century, yeah.
Peacemaker?
Single action
I don't know what they call
revolver. It's a cool gun. Fanner 50.
it. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
A Fanner 50?
Do you know what a
So
Fanner
it shot a
50 is?
Caliber. Did it shoot a 50 caliber bullet? I don't know.
It shot a 50 caliber bullet, but yeah, it was. You just held the trigger and they called it fanning.
Oh yeah, Jesus.
I had
those 50 caliber. There was no joke, man.
I had a
Back
50
in the
caliber.
Day,
Here, I'll squeeze this in real quick. I'm like different time. I'm maybe 10, and I got for my birthday like a cowboy hat. It all came in a set. Cowboy hat, a little vest, a 2-gun holster, like imitation leather, plastic, and 2 Fanner 50s that took caps. But when you pulled the trigger,
cool.
the chamber actually did revolve.
Spun.
So it was pretty neat. It was cool. But yeah, so you give a kid, a fucking holster with 2 50 caliber, and that was perfectly fine in the day.
Yeah. I think toy guns are cool. Teaches kids, at least boys, what they need to learn about. What matters in life.
That was kind of sexist.
Yes, it was. Yep, that's accurate. My girlfriend, I have this shotgun that I'm storing at her apartment now, legally. That's the way that I'm going to describe it. And I said, you have to learn how to use it. Otherwise, it's not going to matter. And I talked to you about this yesterday, and I said, you have to practice with it. Otherwise, it's not going to do you any good in an emergency. And she's like, that's silly. I'm not going to, like, play guns or whatever. And I'm like, you have to do it.
That's exactly what you have to do.
Yes, that's, yeah.
That's why the
what you
military
did. So
trains.
last
That's why
night I
cops train. Cops need to train more. Right? Anyway, do we have any more good laws?
Yeah, so... Yeah. So in 2005, well, this is a protection. Bush, prevent gun manufacturers from being named in federal state civil lawsuits. I'm more curious about. Hang on.
Just give us the good stuff.
Yeah.
It sounds like you hit the big stuff. Are you just looking on your phone?
Yeah, hang on.
But now. All right, for your listening
Oh,
pleasure.
wait, is the last time there's anything passed. What?
I said, for your listening pleasure.
Yeah, sorry, everybody. Yeah, 2008 was the last time there was anything. It was a Supreme Court case called D.C. versus Heller that changed the 70-year precedent set by Miller in 1939. That was that one that said, the well-regulated militia thing.
Yeah.
They got rid of that.
Interesting.
It's called the collective rights theory.
Okay.
Yeah. He challenged the constitutionality of a 32-year-old handgun ban in Washington, D.C., and found the handgun ban and trigger lock requirement violate the Second Amendment. It did not, however, nullify other gun control provisions. The court's opinion should not be taken to cast doubt on longstanding prohibitions of the possession of firearms by felons and the mentally ill, or laws forbidding the carrying of firearms in sensitive places, such as schools and government buildings, where shootings are most likely to take place, or laws imposing conditions and qualifications on the commercial sale of arms. Cool. So,
do you want to be amused?
What? Yeah, go ahead.
When he said carrying firearms in sensitive places, I'm thinking like you're going to carry a firearm in your crotch or something. That's like, that's what went through my head. Like, what kind of nonsense is that?
It's a bra that's also a holster for your gun, for your pea shooter. Yeah,
that's what went through my head.
It's a banana hammock Speedo for your pea shooter.
Right.
Both your pea shooters. Yeah.
Right. Then you said schools, and I was like, oh, okay, got it.
Schools and churches and government buildings. Yeah. You're like, oh, yeah.
So
sensitive.
So
that's everything.
So that's everything. Here's what I was thinking, just in terms of when I was thinking about this and talking about this, which is weeks ago. I was thinking about the United States and like westward expansion, and like gunfights in the United States, I think are romanticized in,
Myth.
I think in the entire Western world, and maybe even, more developed, mature, Eastern countries, Japan, China, etc. Where this country, and I thought about this, like think about Dodge City, Iowa, the most infamous shootout at the OK Corral, which is, mid 1800s ish. So in 1800, this city, so the United States is expanding westward, or white people are, or whatever. That's another conversation, but yeah. So there are land grants and land grabs and the gold rush, and people are moving west into, very, very, very sparsely populated areas, and towns are invented, and there's arguably lawlessness and the availability of guns, and you have these completely, literally, totally immature cities. So literally, cities are popping up, and what immediately came into my head is like, think about London and like Bobby's, their police. Until the 80s or 90s, they walked around and all they had were billy clubs, or their version of a billy club. And then I Googled, like, London is something like 1,500 years old. You know, in Paris, like, these cities that are 1,000 years old. You know, in the mid 1800s, you got Dodge City is 5 years old, and
5 years old.
and you got people who could, you know, who, if they have, you know, 10 bits or whatever the fuck a gun cost, you know, $5,
bits.
$10, $20.
2 bits.
You have
Yeah.
a gun, and that I'm going to look into this / study it, but I think that's probably where all of this gun culture really started in the United States.
No, I don't. I disagree, and only because, and I don't mean to so quickly dismiss you. I just
No,
think that it was such an important part of the. Oh, I'm sorry, maybe I'm wrong, but do you mean the concept of, because that was in 1881? I just looked it up.
What?
The gunfight at the OK Corral.
Yeah, okay, whatever. I'm talking Wild
Yeah.
Wild West, cowboys, gunfights.
Yeah.
I'm talking like settling disputes with handguns is what I'm talking about. And I think
But that was going on in 1770.
now with handguns,
52 caliber dueling pistols.
yeah, guns at 20 paces kind of thing. I'm talking about having a gun at your side, you know, riding your horse, you know, and literally just like, you know, you could, the first version of a drive-by is a guy on a horse, you know, shooting at somebody from his horse.
My understanding, and I could be totally incorrect about this.
This is
Is
my
that not
completely, you know, Saturday morning hypothesized version of my jumping off point.
Sure, that's cool. No, that's okay. Yeah, I understand that. The way that I understand it is, not only is that kind of, you know, cowboy-ish stuff romanticized, but it's also greatly or deeply embellished in that the whole gunfighting thing wasn't really a thing. Like, it wasn't like, even this shootout here, it said it lasted 30 seconds and only 3 people died. But the whole Second Amendment thing, that's like an American's obsession with firearms. They knew how important that was all the way back then, because they were defending themselves, right, from these fucking, these tyrants. They're like, guns, man, if everybody has guns. And then even the Native Americans, back when this shit's going on, you know, you're having the Trail of Tears when you got your...
No, I agree. How many countries, let alone countries the size of the United States, are 250 years old?
Right.
Very few. And
Three.
and they probably existed in some other version before that anyway, so maybe 0.
Liberia, I'm thinking of, only because it was just
Right,
but it existed.
or Zimbabwe that used to be Rhodesia, or whatever.
Or whatever, yeah. Tanganyika, yeah. Probably none, right?
Yeah, like you said, very few, and maybe they're spin-offs or whatever.
Canada and America, that's it.
Yeah, and Canada's just kind of a coincidental appendage. No
Yeah,
disrespect.
it's America's. That's what I've heard. It is America's hat. Referred to as, yeah.
Or here you go, Great Britain or England. Just we'll leave you this. Go away.
They're like, there you go. Yeah. That's basically what happened. And don't kid yourself, Canada, you're still part of England today. So they all try to say we're independent, but no, that's not really how it's working. You have the Queen on your money, you fucking losers. Be independent for once.
Wow.
Yeah, Canada sucks.
I think we've had a Canadian look at this show once. Be careful.
Oh shit! Whoops. Sorry. Move to America. You do yourself and you're doing your ancestors a favor, or I'm sorry, your offspring a favor if you move to America.
So wait. So do you still kind of disagree with what I said?
Yeah, I think it started way before then. Yeah. I think it just, the revolver made it, like, easier. I don't know. It just was widespread. Because the demand had to exist before that it was invented, right? Maybe I'm wrong, too. I don't know. But I think that
that's a
culture
reasonable
was around.
thought. Yeah, I mean, shit. Maybe I'm unconsciously directed by Western movies, but I'm just thinking like, shoot 'em up and all that. Was born of westward expansion
was
and
Wounded
the
Knee?
revolver. No idea.
That was after the shootout at OK Corral.
But again, it seems to me as though, and I need to do more research, that the idea of settling personal disputes, shy of, and that's a great example in retort about, what is it?
Dueling pistols.
Yeah, pistols at 20
paces.
paces.
Yeah.
It seems different. That was more of a gentleman's, and how many of those even shot each other? But that was more of like a gentleman's.
Don't you dare! Don't you dare! You're about to slander my personal hero, Alexander Hamilton, who died at the hands of fucking whatever his name is, Burr. Because
But
Hamilton
those
was being a
guns were
gentleman.
or maybe it's 10 paces, but even at that, it's like 60 feet, right? 3 foot, 20 total, whatever.
It's
Those guns are
fair,
so horribly inaccurate.
No, they had
No way, man.
sort of figured
Fucking
out.
muskets weren't accurate.
Well, they had figured out the concept of rifling, but had not yet implemented it into all of their firearms and stuff like that. So yeah, you're still shooting somebody with a ball instead of
Right.
a round. But yeah, it's a 52 caliber fucking. It's a half an inch big. When that thing hits you, it's blowing your arm off. You're dead. You're done. Yeah.
Fair enough. I wonder how many of those duels ended up where both guys were just like, standing there. And back to
Well, a lot of the
Clint,
time it was like. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good.
I was just saying it was still a symbolic thing. I mean, even when Alexander Hamilton and not Bill Burr. Why do I keep thinking that? What the hell is his name? James Burr? Jonathan? I don't know. Burr, that was his name. When they did that, it was still supposed to just be like, it was just symbolic. And Hamilton, the gentlemanly thing to do was to not decline the duel, but you do it and you don't actually shoot your opponent. You just, shoot your gun in the air.
Oh, really?
And Burr fucking shot him. Yeah. Shot him dead. Yeah.
Huh.
Son of a bitch. Because
What
he
was
was
my
defending
thought?
his wife's honor.
Huh.
How about that?
And really, they
Yeah.
didn't really try to shoot the other guy. It was just
I think it was like barbaric. Yeah. You
Wow.
just did the duel and you just discharge. You just, shoot above their head or whatever.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now I lost my thought. Damn, what was it? It was good
Sorry,
too.
go ahead. Fuck.
Uh,
My bad.
that's okay. Don't know. Pistols at 10 paces.
2 bits. Whatever it cost. A revolver, yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, handguns or whatever you want to call them, short barrel guns, go back long ass time, right?
Yeah.
They're just packed with a ball of wad and some gunpowder, just like a rifle.
I would love to own a set of dueling pistols. That'd be cool.
I'll bet a legitimate set that was used, it would be highly collectible and
Thousands.
super expensive.
Yeah. Tens of thousands of dollars, yeah.
Yeah.
If not more than that. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, all this stuff is so romanticized, at least in the United States. Oh, I know what I was going to say. That Clint Eastwood, to your point about these, guns, about quick draw, like The Quick and the Dead with Leo DiCaprio and I forget which supermodel. Sharon Stone, supermodel, super actress. Right. That's all bullshit. Although Annie Oakley did actually win a marksman contest or something like that. But yeah, you're right. These guys just blown away. 5 other guys in a bar.
There's a gang of bank robbers, and we're moving into town. Go ahead.
Clint Eastwood made, I think it was called Unforgiven, and it was like the guy who waited last and moved most slowly and was most deliberate and careful, like literally was the guy who would actually shoot and kill somebody. But yeah, a lot of missing, and everything happens fast. I mean, even today, fights, fist fights, gun fights, all that, most fist fights last 10, 20 seconds, a couple swings here, a couple swings there, somebody gets hit, it's over.
And the bullet will go straighter now. To your point earlier, the bullet will go straight. The bullet will go where the barrel is pointed. The trick is just pointing it in the right direction. So, still, even, you don't have world-class marksmen everywhere. It's just dumbasses who've been to the range every once in a while, Yeah. It's hard to shoot. But I don't know. I'm thinking of Fred Bear. I don't know why. Because you mentioned Annie Oakley winning a shooting competition. Totally unrelated.
Yeah, there was a guy. There used to be a show called Real People, and it was a kind of a reality show, like a kind of a television, just a random magazine show. And there was a guy who wore a cowboy hat, and he had 6 shooters, and he was a quick draw artist and really accurate. And this is in the early 80s, and he said exactly that. He said, I am highly intrigued, and this is all, inspired by my love affair, or whatever, however he put it, with the Old West and gunfighting and all that. And he said, before it was kind of, I don't know, brought to bear that these gunfights, they just didn't, these sharpshooters, like a guy shooting a bottle, and practicing in the desert while he's sleeping alone in his tent and with his horse. It just didn't work that way. They didn't practice. They weren't accurate. The gunfights were not as they were portrayed in the movies, and yeah.
It's called a Fanner 50, not a needle point 9 or whatever. Because you're just boom, boom. You're not like not the precision pistol. It's just the Fanner 50 for a reason, because you just fucking sprayed. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's why a machine gun is a good gun for a scared shitless 20-year-old kid in a war. Just hold the trigger and a spray of bullets.
Until you go to Vietnam and realize that that's a very expensive way to fight a war, and you have to invent something called third round burst. So,
which I don't know what that is. What is third round burst?
Sorry, 3-round burst. They invented that to decrease the amount of ammunition that was. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So when you, instead of unlimited, you pull a trigger and it doesn't stop. You pull a trigger and it shoots 3 times. Burst.
Yeah, they probably a lot of people found themselves out of ammunition a lot more quickly than they would have liked.
Well, it was expensive, yeah. That was the big thing.
And expensive.
We're running out of fucking ammo. We got to buy more bullets. Like, shit. How about you guys shoot less?
But to buy more bullets, you got to make more bullets, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if it was an issue. Something else came to mind. I don't know.
We should all just go back to knife fights. Shouldn't be guns.
It would bring out the anonymity makes you brave. Think of a drive-by shooting. Think of how difficult it would be. Oh, I know what I was going to say. I'll remember. Think of how difficult it would be to stab somebody. I mean, you're eye to eye with somebody. I mean, you got to really want to hurt somebody to take a knife and stick it in somebody's flesh. That's a very, I think that would be a very difficult thing to do. Hitting somebody in the face.
You really feel it too. Yeah.
Hitting somebody in the face is not as easy to do as you thought. I remember the first fight I got in, I was maybe 11 or 12 years old, and this guy and I, like, there's going to be a fight, there's going to be a fight. And he didn't punch me. I think he was afraid, and I punched him in the chest a few times, and I could not bring myself to hit him in the face. I remember that. Then I got in another fight in 6th grade, and he didn't hit me, and I hit him like in the body and the chest. It was in the winter too. We were wearing winter coats, and I won the fight because like he got scared because I hit him, right? So I won the fight. But I didn't punch anybody in the face until college.
Same here actually. But I punched my little brother in the face once when we were kids, but not in a real fight until college. And I hadn't gotten punched in the face in a real fight until college.
Well, my brother and I would box, but I'm not counting that.
Yeah, it doesn't really count. I just remember I punching him in the face, and it was just instant tears. I was like, "Oh shit! What did I do? I'm so in trouble now."
Did you feel bad too, or were you just worried about being in trouble?
I was, you do the older brother thing where you're like, shh, you're like, stop crying. You're like putting your hands over his mouth, so he's like, shut the fuck up. Like,
that is
I'm
so
gonna get in trouble. Yeah, we must have been 9. I must have been maybe, I don't even know, younger than that. 9 years old, 8 years old. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
That means he's 6 or 7. Yeah. And then, when you're in college, you're just drinking. That is, then you have fist fights all the time. You go out to the bar and you're bumping into guys and whatever.
Oh, that's funny. Shh, stop. Shh, Mom's going to hear.
Shut up. I'm sorry, shut up. And then you're like covering. And then they're like going to suffocate or whatever because they can't breathe and they're trying to cry. And you get in trouble anyway.
All right, so now we got to do our homework. I'm really, there's got to be some good reading on the history of guns in America and how we got where we are.
I'll watch some Clint Eastwood movies, and I'm sure I'll get a great picture of it. I'm just kidding.
Have you seen Unforgiven?
No, I've only ever seen A Few Dollars More, A Fistful of Dollars, A Few Dollars More, and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Unforgiven is made like 20 years ago. It's not a Clint Eastwood,
really?
Whatever they call them, spaghetti western.
Spaghetti western.
He got an Academy Award for it, maybe the picture or best actor. It was totally acclaimed movie. It's not old.
Oh,
it's a good movie.
Cool. I'll check it out.
Yeah, and it totally addresses that. It's not him shooting them up. There's best Clint Eastwood movie scene is when he beats a bunch of guys up with an axe handle.
I don't know what movie that is.
I think it's High Plains Drifter. I'm not sure though.
Oh, High Plains Drifter. What a great name.
Are we an hour in? Are you ready to ask the 8-ball a question? Uh-oh, you're frozen. Charlie's frozen. Oh, you're back.
Okay, good.
Has it been an hour?
Yeah.
Wow, that went fast.
Well, I was reading a lot for a majority of that.
It was only 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah.
That was a fun conversation.
So what do you want to ask it?
I asked last time.
Oh, you did. That's true.
What do I want to know about guns? Should I find the information? Will the advent of the pistol in the wild, wild west explain modern day gun culture in America?
Don't count on it.
So it's siding with Charlie. Sorry, I'm not supposed to say that.
Just want Chaz is okay. I just want to point out and reiterate that the 8-ball and I are on the same team, which means that I'm right and that you're wrong.
Wait, I thought 8-balling was a collaborative thing.
I just wanted you to know that you were wrong and that I was right. I just wanted to make sure that that was.
I don't want to get pedantic. But technically, I'm going to be wrong. I'm not wrong yet.
In the future, yeah. When you when you look
I have to
into
go
it, yeah.
through a process.
But okay, so you have a journey to take before you discover that you are wrong, whereas
Correct.
I've been right all along. I just want to point that part out too. So not only do you have to
I have to
put in the work
I have to
be
toil
wrong,
through a bunch of bullshit
yeah. So there's you have a long
just to have
journey ahead of-
to have an outcome that I don't want.
Yeah, you got shit. Yeah, at the end of it. I don't know. I just think I think of whatever pops into my head is like Mel Gibson in Patriot. I know it's a movie. Like I understand that, but like guns matter back then too. But today, gun culture, you don't have guys dueling. Like it's not like we're not like, you know. I think guns nowadays are a way to defend yourself.
Well, that
and a
was
way
your
to-
example.
for gangs. What?
Dueling. No. I see what you mean, and I guess the one thing, the Civil War invented guerrilla warfare, right? Where
Sherman, right?
we, I guess, did not fight honorably according to, English.
I was talking about the Revolutionary War.
Yeah, so am I.
No, you said Civil War.
Oh, I meant Revolutionary War. Yeah. Yeah, the Revolutionary Wars were, right, guerrilla tactics were invented.
Don't be targeting our officers. If there aren't any civilized men to run these wars, then it will just be a bunch of, I forget what word they used. Pansies, not pansies. It will be madness on the battlefield. Oh, it's a battlefield. What the fuck? I love that scene. Stop targeting our officers.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
Sorry, I just threw you off.
No, that's exactly what I was talking about, right? Take out the officers. Like, fuck this marching in a straight line. They outnumber us 10 to 1. We're going to let them come at us.
Right.
Then we're going to ambush them from the side out of the woods. And they're like, what
Isn't
kind
that
of...
funny as shit?
What?
Isn't that so funny? Is that we beat the English because we fought unfairly, and the idea that fighting unfairly is even a thing
It's
to
not
be
gentle-manly.
considered.
Right.
Yeah, it's like,
so
didn't
when you
fight
can...
with honor.
When you no longer have time to reload your fucking muzzle loader, you take your bayonet and you fucking stick a guy.
Yeah, you stab him in the heart.
Jesus.
Yeah. They're like, you're
And you're
killing
worried about...
all of our officers. You're winning because you care more about winning than you do about the concept of a gentlemanly war. Oh my God, that's so funny to me. Like, fuck you, England. I'm
Right.
so
How is sticking a bayonet? Where's the fucking
honor? Yeah.
not even honor? Honor's not the right
Respect.
word. I mean, you can fight honorably, I guess, to a degree even today, but I don't know. I don't even know how to approach it. Just running a guy through with a fucking knife that's screwed onto the end of a long gun is brutal and inhumane, and I don't know how you get how you conflate gentlemen and stabbing somebody to death. Oh, I know one thing I was going to say. Out of a sense of duty, on Memorial Day, I decided to watch Saving Private Ryan. And
nice.
I was just not in the right mood. I couldn't finish the movie. The end is just... there's a lot of killing
There's
in
that
that
scene
movie.
exactly what you're talking about, where the Jewish guy gets the knife just slowly pushed into his chest.
I can't watch that scene. The last couple times I've watched it, I fast forward through that scene. That's the most...
That guy. Sorry, it's brutal. That's a hard thing.
That's a very hard scene to watch. It's so real.
That actor called the White House on behalf of Jewish people, not because he's a Jew, but because he played a Jew in that movie. And he said, you didn't mention, this is during Donald Trump's presidency, but he called and said, you didn't mention Israel and whatever during past something, like pretending that Trump is an anti-Semite, which like all of his kids are Jews. I don't understand how that's possible, but this dude calls in and is like, I played a Jewish guy in a movie. I know what it's like. And I'm like, okay, fuck you. I hate you. but what a horrible.
I don't even understand
like,
that.
He was saying that he knew the plight of the Jewish people, not because he was born Jewish or raised by a Jewish family, but because he took on the role as an actor and he played it in a movie.
Well, that's like Hollywood and actor think.
Yes,
and again,
like,
it's like again, I watched the Dave Smith episode. You told me that with Rogan was good. So just like him, Trump, not a fan, but I'll tell you what, Trump was without question the most unabashedly pro-Israel president we've ever had.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was just, coincidence and he was like, yeah, fucking do it, or it was thought out, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
To get down on him, there were two really big things he did. One was moving the embassies from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, and then I forget the other, and then there were other
Abraham
ones.
Accords.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
So, and again, not a fan of the guy, but that's a goofy argument. If you're paying
That's like
attention.
Robert Downey Jr. saying, I know what it's like to save the world because I played Iron Man.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I get it.
Like, fuck you. Yeah.
Look at that movie.
Yeah,
I get it. He didn't say that,
I
did he?
understand. He basically said that, yeah.
Robert Downey Jr. said that?
No. I'm sorry. I'm saying the other guy.
Oh,
the guy
okay.
who played the
Okay,
Jewish
yeah,
guy
yeah.
who got stabbed in the chest at the end of the movie.
Yeah, no, I
guy.
like the Robert Downey Jr. analogy to make that,
That's just my analogy.
to make the point. Yeah.
Yeah, I know what it's like to invent the Iron Man suit or whatever it is. Save the world because I'm Iron Man. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right.
We
Well,
digress.
we started another episode.
Yeah.
It's time to cue music.
But
We've asked the 8-Ball,
Yeah.
right?
yeah, Chris is wrong. Oh, sorry, Chris is going to be wrong.
I'm going
I'm
to
right.
be wrong according to the 8-Ball. I don't think we have any evidence of the 8-Ball ever failing us.
Not readily available, at least. Not immediately.
That we remember.
On hand.
All right. Wow, that really went fast. And say goodbye to Charlie. Say goodbye to Chris.
Bye, Chris.
Bye-bye.